All right, Justin, you want to lead us in our invocation?
Yes, sir. Please pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, God, we love you. Lord, we just praise your name. God, we just thank you for the weather. We thank you for the safety that you continue to provide for us. God, we ask tonight that you would give us wisdom, Lord, as we seek direction, and pray that you would just be with our leaders tonight. Pray that you just continue to be with the first responders, Lord, not only of our community, but of our country, Lord. We ask that you just keep them safe as they keep us safe. God, we love you. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Samantha, you want to lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll convene our meeting and start with our roll call. Misty Cottle.
Here.
Jeff Upton. Here. Jan Throgmorton.
Here.
Marty Lindberry.
Here.
John Collins.
Missing in action.
Dina McKnight.
Here.
Don Rollins.
Here.
Our city attorney and city clerk are both present. First item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any changes that anyone knows of?
I make a motion, we accept it as is.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Next is the approval of our meeting minutes from August 10th. Are there any changes that need to be made to those minutes? Do we have a motion?
I'll make it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Next is our public forum. Is there anyone that would like to address the council tonight?
Nobody likes this.
No? All right, we'll close the public forum and move on to item A. Item A is the mayor's recommendation for council seat in Ward 2, Position 1. I am recommending Jimmy Condiff for that seat. Is there any discussion on that?
Nope.
Does everybody know Jimmy? No?
Stand up, Jimmy.
So, any questions for Jimmy?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Run, Jimmy, run.
So Jimmy's been a part of the community for a long time. He's deeply involved in the fire department, Boy Scouts.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to make an excellent council member.
Yeah.
Do we have a motion to accept my recommendation on Jimmy?
I'll make it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. It was a close one, Jimmy. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. All right, Jimmy, if you will come forward, I will swear you in as an official council member. Just come right on around here. I guess he's going to sit over here, isn't he?
Sure.
All the way around. All right, so I'll read off the oath of office. As I read it, you repeat it. I'm going to say I. You're going to state your name, and then we'll move forward. I
Jimmy Condiff,
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
do hereby solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Arkansas
and to the state
and the
and
Constitution
the Constitution of the State of Arkansas,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of Alderman of the City of West Fork,
of Alderman of the City of West Fork,
Arkansas,
Arkansas,
for which I am about to enter.
for which I'm about to enter.
Fantastic. Have a seat, sir, if you would.
I've got one.
Okay. Just sign that, and we'll give that to Christy when we're finished with the meeting. All right, so we're back up to full staff minus Mr. Collins being absent tonight. And did we get Jimmy an
Yes.
agenda? Yeah, okay, fantastic. All right, so the next item on our agenda is business reports. We have the Planning Commission. Is Walter here tonight? No? Elizabeth, you want to give it or you want me to go through it? I've got the agenda up here in front of me. Okay. So I'm going to continue to beg everyone that can to make the planning commission meeting minutes, or meetings. There's a lot going on at the planning commission, and soon to be a lot more going on at the planning commission. So they meet the third Thursday of each month, right here at 6:30. So like this month, they meet this coming Thursday, right after us, right? But to give you an idea, this month they've got 2 lot line adjustments besides a lot split that the city's asking for the property up by the administration building, and they have a conditional use permit application that's coming before them. The conditional use permit application is, it's an interesting project. We have some folks who bought 6.5 acres that is just south of the Church of Christ. It runs down onto the bluff, so it'd be overlooking the park. They've came in, they've got an interesting project they're looking to put in there. They need conditional use permission to do it, but it is it's like an RV park. So it's like a camping type RV, and glamping, I believe is one of the terms they used. It's a new type of, what did she call that? Like high society camping, I guess. So you're in a tent, but you've got like a really nice beds and stuff. So glamping is what that's called. But there's a lot coming before them. We have, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, but we have a public hearing scheduled to make a zoning ordinance change. We have Juliet assisting in our changing our zoning ordinance. There's a couple of things going on with subdivisions and stuff coming in that we've got plats that are getting ready to come before planning, that we need to get some changes in place before we get there. As a matter of fact, I've asked a group to hold off a month before they come to planning, so we can get some specifications. We currently don't have any good specifications or specifications period for what we require for road bases in a subdivision. So what material is going in under the road, what size pipe we need for the guttering system for the rainwater. So there's a lot of things that we're missing that I'll say we've been pretty lucky in the past with a couple of our subdivisions. We haven't had any major problems, but it's things we definitely need to get in place before we get real busy with that. So with that, like I said, the Planning Commission, they're talking about everything from lot sizes, lot densities, parking, landscaping around new buildings. They're talking about what types of fences we can build. We need as many people there as possible, because this thing is, eventually we're going to get an ordinance passed, and some of us are going to wake up and say, wait a minute, what do you mean I can't have 15 storage buildings in my backyard? So I highly encourage you guys to get there and help the Planning Commission as they work through that with Juliet, because there's a lot of things in that zoning ordinance that we don't really think of until it's brought up. So, and with that, I'm going to go ahead and just let everyone know that, so we've got a 28 to 30 home subdivision looking at West Fork. I've already seen the plat of that. We've got this RV park that's wanting to come in. We have a builder who's wanting to put in some small homes. We've met with him. We've got some stuff going on there beside the admin building. We have a couple groups of people who have came into the city, and they're willing to buy any piece of property for sale. The bigger the better. And so what I'm getting at is they're coming in and saying, tell me who to go talk to. I need phone numbers. So if you know of anybody with larger parcels that is even potentially interested in selling, let me know, because the money is coming into West Fork. They're actively seeking anything they can find. Several of our residents have already been spoke to about purchasing the property. Some of the council members' property has been looked at and brought up. So we need to get out ahead of that with the zoning ordinance. I was reading through it the other night. What I say, Christie, part of it said it was enacted in 58 and part of it in 73. So we're a little behind the times on that. We need to get it put in shape. So third Thursday, 6:30, planning commissions. We have a public hearing scheduled for when, Christie?
October 5th, Tuesday the 5th at 6:30.
Okay. All right. Any other questions about that? I don't guess there were any questions. I was just talking a lot. Any questions concerning that? Okay. Tracy, you'll give us a court report?
Let's see. On the disbursements part, we're right about the same as we were last month. And the year to year, like we're down about 7,000 on disbursements from what we were last year. And then the year to date, we're down about 16,000 from what we were last year. The tickets this month are, on my side of it, it's up about 50, and we're up 175 approximately from what we were last year. It's been really, really busy. They started, well, also I'm doing it by myself right now because my court clerk is out on medical leave for a couple of weeks. Anyway, and the other thing is that they started on my spray foam twice. They've started on it, and they started yesterday working on the wall in there, but they had some problems. I haven't heard if they've got the equipment fixed so that they can come back tomorrow, but that was their plan when I talked to them this morning.
Okay.
I think that's.
Any questions for Tracy?
Okay.
Thank you. Up next is our library report, and we have a big one.
So August has slowed a little after our summer reading program ended, but we're continuing to plan for upcoming events and projects. Marie, our children's librarian, she began her monthly homeschool class, which is called Magic Passports, and her weekly story time. We're having story time outside right now, and we got permission to use the land beside the library, the land that we're hoping to obtain for story time, and are grateful to have outdoor space with shade that we can continue to use for outdoor programming and events. We look forward to using this space more once things become official, and the library will continue to advocate for that property. Our grand opening plan with Crystal Bridges is coming along. Again, the dates are October 3rd through 5th, so it sounds like you'll come to our grand opening and then have a meeting right after, right on October 5th, the Planning Commission. So I hope to see you all there. We'll have food, music, and arts spread out over this course of 3 days, and we will begin heavily promoting at the end of this week through our social media. And then lastly, so my husband and I will be moving back to Texas, and so I will be leaving the library. So I want to take a moment to thank all of you for supporting and trusting me as library director, and just for allowing the library to progress and mold to the community's needs as we've been through this exciting time and challenging time through all the moving parts. We have found a replacement. She did start last week. She unfortunately is not able to make it tonight, but if you stop by the library this month, you'll get to meet her. At grand opening, you can meet her, or you'll have to wait till the next council meeting. Any comments?
Best of luck to you.
Thank you.
We are going
We're
to
gonna
miss you.
big.
Can I make a motion?
Yeah.
Let her go.
That's a good one. I second that.
I really appreciate it. I feel the love and support here, and was a hard decision. But our Grammy Sues and Mo's and families, we also see them, wanting to be by our daughter, and we just had to talk about it and make the decision. So we did. Yeah.
Were you able to have any input in who they hired at all?
I was.
Good.
And I'm so thankful that everyone was on board to allow me to lead that process. Mm-hmm.
Good, I'm sure she'll be fine.
I have confidence in you, so that makes me
Yes.
have confidence in them. So
I
that's all.
appreciate that, yeah.
You're gonna have a rotten kid if you're moving down close to Grammy's. Just saying.
We will prepare. Yeah.
25th.
We'll miss you a lot, Cindy.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, yes, The 25th is your last day, is that correct? Or
Actually,
the
grand opening, the last day of grand opening, October 5th.
5th,
Mm-hmm.
The fifth.
yes.
Yes.
So Blair will be working, Blair is the new librarian that we've hired. Blair will get to work with Shannon up until that point. Blair's very excited about that, having the opportunity to work with Shannon, and not just be brought in right out of the blue. So I think that's gonna be really good. And I think Blair will do a really good job of trying to fill those shoes.
Those shoes can't be filled,
No.
so it'll be tough on
So,
her.
I will say that probably the hardest conversation I've had to have in a long time was a conversation with a library director or somebody in the hiring position out of Texas who called asking me what I thought of Shannon.
Oh,
And
goodness.
I told the lady honestly, I said, I don't want
She
to tell you
steals
this,
stuff all the time.
but you would be crazy if you do not hire her.
Hey, that's right.
So,
Exactly.
it's hard to lose Shannon, but I also had to be honest.
Yep.
Well, thank y'all. And Blair, she has her master's in library science, and she is excited to start. So even just working with her a week, I'm definitely stressing the things that I feel like need to be stressed, but she's doing a great job, and we're a week in so far. So, yeah. Thank y'all.
We'll miss you.
Thank you. I'll miss y'all too.
Shannon, before you sit down, give us an update on the mural.
For City Mural?
Yes.
It should be happening. So one thing that's important to keep in mind why the spray is important with the insulation in the court building, what we learned from a mural artist that we actually decided not to go with was that she's done a project before and the mural work has bubbled just because of proper insulation and brickwork. So that's kind of why, timing-wise, it's just important to go ahead and get that done. The mural art should be starting, I think it was 22nd or the 24th, and it'll probably be a 5-day process. The artist is from Chester. She is so friendly, so she said, yeah, if anybody wants to ask me questions or, just drive by and just curious minds. I know we have that kind of community that she's happy to talk to anybody or just encourage people to drive by and look through the progress.
What days is it gonna be?
It's either the 22nd or 24th through 28th
Of August?
of September.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, of September. I'm so behind, yes.
Yeah, of course, it would have been super to have it ready and
Yes.
done for West Fest,
Oh,
but
yeah.
unfortunately, it's happening later this month.
I'm glad you'll get to see it though.
Me
Yes.
too. Yeah. And we also have a small mural in the library now, in the kids area. She did that as well, so we're really excited about that addition too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chief Nelson.
A lot of you guys don't know, we spent about an hour together. Then we driving around, and I gave her the history of West Fork, what I know of it. Next time I talk to her, she was leaving, so I hope it's not because of me. I hope I'm getting but anyway, to the report. We wrote 100 citations, had 101 warnings, what was it, about 42 warrants served, and 7 property complaints. The property complaints have gone up, and I think that's due to rain and grass and kind of the typical stuff. We're working through some of those. I think West Fest went well for us. Parade went without a hitch. We've been very short-handed. One of our night shift officers got quarantined for COVID and then came down with COVID. And then our other night shift officer got quarantined for COVID and came down with COVID. And then at the end of the first officer's COVID, we found out that he will be going to Eureka Springs and we'll be losing him. So we're hiring again. We'll just take the same process. I don't know, it's hard to get these night guys to want to stick around, but there's enough that want to be policemen that we'll get it figured out. Usually this month I have the MOU for people, for the school ready. He's changing it up. He wants to do some stuff. He's checking on some stuff. The state has changed some rules. We're looking at, basically what they did is our part-time officer works full-time in the school, and he was being paid some stipend from the school as security. Well, you can't do that. If he's a licensed officer, he has to go through the school resource officer course if he's gonna act in that profession, so, in that capacity. So even if they're paying him stipend, which they can't, anyway, long story short is, we're gonna have to get him in a class. They're gonna have to probably give us the money, and it's just gonna switch up our own MOU, and it's gonna take a little time to get things worked out with that, but we're in the process of working that out. And so that'll give us 2 officers in the school, pretty much for SROs at all times. I know you work right in the middle of all of them, so you kind of see the interactions and what's going on. Our car finally came in. 7, 8 months later, it came in, we're gonna get it tomorrow. So we'll have a happy officer on that. I think that's about it. Can you think of anything I'm leaving out?
So while you're there, we did have, there was some talk about some of the, I want to say it was some of the police work in the school,
Mhm.
and busing kids somewhere. Is there anything to that?
Busing kids, you mean like the police department?
Yeah. Were you guys, is there some sort of plan to bus the kids and keep them overnight?
You're talking, Mary, are you talking about Facebook?
Yes, sir.
Oh.
I don't know half the stuff they're talking about, but we did do an active shooter refresher during your professional development. It was a video presentation, and it was about ALIS, which is active shooter protocols. Now, it's not outside the realm of possibilities, even though it's very unlikely we'd ever have to deal with anything like that, that we could have to evacuate and do reunification at another place or something like this. But how, I guess they found that somewhere in some training material and made out that we were gonna hold their kids hostage. I don't understand where that came from. And I'm sure there is somewhere in some training of active shooter stuff that they could have Googled that said they're gonna collect the kids up, take them and bus them somewhere else. We've talked about going to Unity or going to the community center. If we had to shut down and lock down the campus, we would have how we would do that. So that, it's not totally fabricated, that's possible, but it's also been turned into something completely different, and I don't know how they got there.
Okay.
I also know Facebook hit us pretty hard on the pursuit that happened over the, right in the middle of West Fest. But we didn't initiate that. That was initiated by the state police. And they wrecked in our city. They did run. We don't know really if they were armed or not. We just found some sort of ammunition in
And they found ammunition and a
magazines in the car. We did end up having to evacuate the Boy Scouts. And that's because that's the week they camp out there. But it's hard for us too. We had one officer working, and then we had the state police there and county. We got a lot of agencies working. They were a little bit mad because we didn't let them know on Facebook till 3 hours after the fact or something. But at that time, we evacuated who we thought we needed to. And basically that's what we can do. You know, that's kind of the after fact. Our big push is just to get them taken care of at the time.
So you didn't stop what you were doing and put that on Facebook?
We didn't. And we apologize. And we did put something on Facebook as soon as we heard it come out.
As soon as I was made aware of it.
Right. If anybody doesn't know, he does a lot of him and Elena do a lot of the Facebook stuff. I am not a Facebook person. I can't remember the last time I looked at my Facebook. Sorry, it's just not my thing anymore. So,
Understandable.
So the police department did have a busy month. You guys, they've picked up a lot of dope.
$12,000 worth of heroin we got at Superfoods. And then just the other night, leaving an address in town, we got somewhere around $8,000 to $10,000 worth of Molly, if you guys know what that is, and not synthetic marijuana, but edible marijuana packaged up. So we've had a busy month with heroin. Seems to be the new big thing. So, but we'll get as much as we can.
Good.
Any questions for me?
Thank you, sir. Isaac?
I don't have much. Water usage continues to be high and sewer collections continues to be low. the dry weather is sure benefiting us. We did some to help for West Fest, and to be honest with you, most of my time is spent over here at the school with boils and back and forth between the 6 houses we've got going up that are in various stages of finishing up, so doing inspections and whatnot. Mayor Nick did prepare some numbers to give to y'all to go through the contract, so he can kind of give y'all some where we're at with the money and what we've got left. The main thing I've been working on this month is Chrissy and I have picked out some projects that we want to try to do with our American Relief Act money. So those will be, I think that's tonight. We'll talk about those in a little bit. I will let Nick get up here and let y'all know where the money's at. And if you got any questions for me, just fire away.
I printed it out, but realized I emailed it out yesterday and then printed it and left it on the printer. But luckily I have screenshotted it. So, okay. I know you'd asked for kind of financial update, and I will say I haven't vetted this out with ANRC. I've reached out to Dean and hadn't heard back from him. I don't know if he's been out on vacation or what. I tried to call him yesterday to make sure my numbers are, I think they're pretty close. So just for some round numbers, if y'all remember, we city did get a GO loan or general obligation loan, $400,000. Of that, I believe about $164,000 that's been spent to date. That was mainly on easements and paying electric and gas fees early on in the project. So there's about $236,000 left in that fund. And then on the loan, the $3.5 million loan, and this is through the request that the mayor will sign after the meeting here. There's about almost 2.85 million of that spent or encumbered. So there's about 656,000 remaining there. So all told, about a little over 890,000 left in funds to be spent. Out of that, we've got for McClellan, there's about a little over 40,000 left in our total contract to finish everything out. Boyle's contract has just about 587,000 left, just total if everything got paid out 100%, which it may or may not. So that's 630,000. So right now we're looking at contingency money. I'm saying money that hasn't been committed towards anything of about 260,000, or a little bit more than that. So there is still some money there. That change order we did, I guess last month or the month before, that basically put a bunch of money into that contingency. It was committed towards construction. We weren't going to use it, so we pulled it back out so it could go into this contingency for any remaining closeout activities we need to do, because we still got to finish cleaning out the ponds, and we still got to fill them in, and we're working through that. We've put in a request to extend our deadline with the state to next December of 2022 to give us time. I know the mayor wanted to ask for a little bit longer, 2025. I don't think we'd be able to get that, but we're currently working on that, and we have a tentative plan to get rid of the solids, and we're working with the subcontractor on that and any costs associated with changing directions there on how they're going to get rid of it. But more to come on that probably next month, I would say. We're still working through that. But y'all have any questions? I know construction-wise,
Is that kind of at a standstill then?
for the time being, yeah. We've been at a standstill since early July, just trying to figure out what we can do. There's just a lot of limitations on who wants to take the sludge and where we can take it. Right now, the best option is to land apply it. That's about the only thing that we can find that's financially viable and something that the state will allow. And, you know, cities just don't want to take the sludge. We tried several cities and kept getting a lot of closed doors.
The company you had doing the White River couldn't do it anyway, could they?
Well, they were doing it and hauling it to Huntsville, and then Huntsville shut that down and said they couldn't take the heavy stuff that we were getting into. So we have a tentative plan with White River for them to haul it and land apply it down in Franklin County. They're gonna sublease another hauler's land application site. So that's tentatively the plan moving forward, but like I said, I'll have a better update next meeting on where we're going with that. So we're taking a pause to make sure we're doing the right thing moving forward, basically. So this is our last shot at getting it done, right? The state has come back and said this is our last extension, which I understand it's the fourth time we've asked for an extension, so not all our fault. We've had some challenges for sure. So, but I guess y'all have any other questions? We're wrapping up construction. I know the school's there's a lot going on over there. That's the last rehab project we have right now, and the rest of it we're about done closing out the original work. So, did I miss anything?
Nick is working on the stormwater permit, so you'll
Yes,
get
I got that.
urgent emails.
Oh, good.
Oh yeah, don't worry. Yeah, yeah, I've seen the emails. We'll get recertified. That's just something we gotta get something resubmitted by the end of the month to extend the permit. So we'll get that taken care of.
Any questions for Nick? So just a little bit of a highlight for what Nick went over. I just want to remind everyone that, so we're down to about 236,000 left as a contingency. The project thus far is wildly under budget. We have used, that money is what we have used to fund the project on Westwood, over at the school. What was the third project? McKnight Street, yes. So we have used our overruns in that project to fund some of these other big projects, big sewer projects, trying to cut out that I&I. So we're still looking like we're coming in good shape. The project's been very well managed thanks to Nick and their team. I also, we talked about this briefly, I think, last council meeting, but Nick and I and Isaac have had a couple meetings with the Homestead subdivision about tying in. Nick has went out of his way trying to put together some monetary packages to make that happen, and we don't know where we're at with that yet, but he is working pro bono to get that taken care of. That's going to benefit the Homestead subdivision, but it's also going to benefit the city of West Fork if we can tie them into our sewer system.
I can give a quick update on that.
Okay. Before you do, I just want to keep trucking on Nick. He is also, Christie has sent in a request to the state. Nick was a part of this, but we have asked the state to completely forgive the $3.5 million that we borrowed for this sewer project. So they've already forgave $4.5 million. We've asked them to forgive the rest of it. As Nick pointed out, we're in crazy times. The state has a lot of money for sewer projects right now. They're looking for things to spend that on. There's no better time to ask than now. So that's right. And so that was kind of our consensus. How much forgiveness do we ask them for? We'll start with all of it.
Yep.
And
Take what they give you.
we'll bargain from there, right? So we don't know how that's going unless Nick has an update on that as well.
No,
But I do know that Christie has been in, I guess, weekly conversations with them back and forth. They're wanting more information about what our system totals look like, what our numbers are looking like. So we don't know what they're going to do, but we do know they're taking our request fairly serious because we're getting a lot of correspondence back and forth on it. So, so Nick has been pivotal in all of that. Nick, you've done a lot for the city, and I appreciate that.
We all do.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate y'all. It's been a pleasure working with y'all, and so we're all trying to reach a common goal here, and we're getting there.
And Nick he is very diplomatic. He would make a fine mayor somewhere.
I don't know about that.
I will just go ahead and say that White River will never work in the city of West Fork again. Nick has been very diplomatic with him and trying to come to an understanding, but we've been 2.5 months with no work out of them. And at several times, they've came back wanting more money. So Nick is getting us worked out of this jam, and probably better him than me to be involved in it. So.
That's right.
Is he moving to Texas too or something?
No, I don't think he's moving to Texas.
No, I left Texas. I've got family there. They're twice a year I can go visit. That's Arkansas's home. But,
We're glad.
well, I appreciate the kind words there. But yeah, just on Homestead, not a whole lot to update, but we did. I went to I think it was a county services committee meeting several weeks ago, where they were trying to get a resolution approved for the county to fund a portion of the connection. We've estimated the cost to be, I think, around 2.3 million. That includes buying them out of their bond or paying off their bond. I think the county was looking to try to chip in $250,000 of that and then ask the state for the rest. And it did pass at the meeting. I think they were shorthanded. I think they had three members voting. It was a 2-to-1 vote. It was really tight. And I spoke with J.P. Wilson a couple days after, and it was going to go to the budget committee for the next step. And I think he and the county judge decided they were going to table it. And I think there's some pushback on just the whole how the rescue plan money is being spent at the county level. They've got $20 million or something, and they want to go through and make sure they're vetting out the full process with all projects. I think that was some of the feedback they got. They weren't saying they weren't going to fund it. They just, there's a lot of places the money can get spent, so they want to make sure everyone's getting a say. So it just slowed down the process on the county side. I mean, we've put in a request to the state to cover that when we did the surveys, so along with a lot of projects for y'all too. So I'll keep y'all posted on if I find out anything on Homestead, but it did slow down a little. We came out of the gate pretty fast and figured that I wasn't surprised when things slowed down. So, but that's what I got. Any other questions?
Do you feel good about the Homestead one? Think that's gonna fly?
I do. I just think it's going to take a little time. I think just, it's going to come down to if the county can commit some money, I think the state will fall in, and I'm hopeful they'll fall in and contribute the rest, because it's a situation where they just really can't, since they're paying on debt right now, for them to take on more debt to try to pay for something and then get connected to a system where their rates would probably be similar or even go up a little. The long-term solution's the right solution. I think there's no disagreement there. It's just, I think, building that case and, getting at the front of the line, raising our hands saying we really need this. So, and we've got a lot of advocates for the project. So we'll do what we can to make it happen. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Nick? Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
I'll just start by saying that also we helped assist with Westfest last week, and I just want to say shout out to the Westfest committee and all those that are involved. I thought it turned out really well. They put a lot of planning and effort into it. Thought the 9/11 tribute was really good, and so thought they did a great job. And I think we had a big crowd both days. It seemed like bigger than it has been in the past, so that's a good thing as well. So I'll start out, most of this is in your packet, but I'm going to update and highlight a few things. We did have our golf tournament on August 21st. It was a fundraising tournament for the baseball and softball team. We had 45 players enter the tournament, including Isaac and myself. Don't know how Isaac did, but I came in first in my age division. Not sure there was anyone else there over 50, but so it was a good time. They raised almost $2,500. Some of that was entry fees. A lot of it was whole sponsorships and donations and raffles and different things. So it turned out to be a good event. We look forward to picking a little better date. Heat of the summer's not the best time. We learned that the hard way. We're going to try to shoot for a spring tournament next year. And we're really already got a couple, 2 or 3 we'd like to get in next year. So, on our two big projects, our Carter Park Trail project, we're still working on, we've got most of our estimates in now. I got a couple more yesterday, as a matter of fact, so we're taking our time a little bit. We're trying to get the best price and the best product on that. But hopefully, we'll start going through those and getting some contractors selected and moving forward on that pretty quick. A lot of people that we reached out to they said they were months off, so they didn't. So it's just been a little bit of a chore getting estimates themselves, and there's a big discrepancy in some of the estimates. So we're kind of talking to them right now to see. We want to make sure it'd be nice just to pick the cheapest one, but we want to make sure we're getting what we're wanting from them as well. So. And then on the Field 2 project they plan on starting that reconstruction on the Field 2 infield next week, as long as they get materials. They've ordered their materials, but like a lot of things right now, some things are hard. You don't know for sure if you're going to get them or when you're going to get them, but they're hoping to get their materials here next week and get started. And I really feel like once they get here, that project will go pretty quick. So I'm hoping to get that done. Their goal is to get it done by the end of the month, so I'm hoping that holds true. For flag football, we'll start. We've got teams organized. They've been practicing a little bit, and we'll start games next week on that. The only other thing I got, we did have some vandalism at Carter Park. I won't go into a lot. There were juveniles involved, but I will say that we have identified them, and Sergeant Coggins is working on dealing with that right now, so just wanted to make you aware of that. There wasn't a lot of damage, but it was enough to aggravate me for sure. So, but Sergeant Coggins is working on it, and I think we've got them all
Pretty much resolved.
pretty much. So it's a good thing. I think that's all I've got.
Any questions for Chad?
Busy times.
Got a lot going on, but it's good.
Okay.
I wore this for Shannon. Hope she doesn't become a Longhorn fan.
Yeah, all about the Razorbacks.
All right, we'll stay that way.
We were sitting in Texas with Texas family yelling for the Razorbacks.
Good deal. It was a good day to be a Razorback.
Yeah.
Chief Myers, how are you, sir?
So just because Shannon's leaving, you still have me and Chad, we're still good. So we had all of our people complete their intro DB class. So it did let us pick up 3 more volunteers, 3 new, really good people. Congratulations to Brooke Lowry, she graduated the MT class. Already got a job at Central EMS, so that's great. So we have 1 more that just left last week to go to Camden and do the same thing. So really benefit to us to have more EMTs. Want to congratulate Wayne Boyd. He officially retired from Washington Water and the fire department. Luckily, he's going to stay on with us after his downtime. He's a very big asset to us. Back up 77 calls again for the month, which was way more than this time last year. So, brings us to Pancake Breakfast. Really did great. Really, really great. Normally, I think in 2019 we had 429 people. Okay, so we ended up with 514 this year. Pretty good, trying to click and check. So, to put it in perspective, if 514 people, we charged $5 a piece, that would have come out to $2,570. We raised $4,000. So, we did it all in honor of Jackson Brannon. So we're just gonna kind of see what we can do with the money, where it goes from there. So, we did have some great sponsors, B&R Meat Processing in Winslow donated sausage. Life Source donated some stuff. Highland Dairy donated some stuff to us, so I want to thank them. All of our volunteers that showed up, a lot of long hours getting it together. It's not an easy task, but it's what we do. So really a big thanks to our community for what we got. That put us, you can tell by the numbers there that almost half the money we got were either paid more than what they were going to pay, or they just came up and donated money and didn't even eat. So, big thank you to our community. So, other than that, that's all I got.
Any questions for Chief Myers? Thank you, sir. You have any good news for us, Christie?
Our bank balances are up. By about 369,000, and we are under budget by about 482,000, which will change. Not drastically. I think we'll still end up obviously under budget, but this time of year everybody starts spending their money, so they've patiently waited and they will spend some money now, so that will change a little bit. But overall, the budgets look really good. Our sales taxes still kind of staying steady at 7% for the city sales tax. That's 7% over last year, and last year was up, I believe, around 15%. So we're up quite a bit from 2 years ago. We have started the budget process. We should have most of those numbers in this week, the end of this week, so we'll kind of see where we stand. The last email that I did with ANRC was actually to send them a copy of our proposed budget from the water. It does not look good. It is, we're about almost $300,000 short if we have to pay the bond fee. So that tells the rest of the department heads to be really careful when you do your budget. Since Isaac's the only one that's turned his in, everybody else now has to be real careful with theirs. But hopefully we'll get some news from ANRC. We do start paying that bond payment this October. You can see from the water report that we have actually decreased those bank balances this year by $40,000 already. So I foresee us having to pull some more out of savings to pay those bond payments for the rest of this year. So hopefully we'll get some news from them soon and have a better outlook for next year if we can get some help with that. On the water and wastewater income expense report, you can see this month that we did actually make more in sewer sales than we paid, but we only by about $1,000. And our bond payment's $14,000, so that kind of puts into perspective.
14,000 how often?
Every month.
Every month.
So that kind of puts into perspective how far away we are, and it's a very, very dry season. So that's what we're working on. We'll talk a little bit more about the American Rescue funds when we get there, but we've got some plans going on with that. I think that's all I've got.
Any questions for Christie?
It's pretty black and white.
Our department heads are doing a fantastic job of managing their budgets. The fact that our sales tax revenue is up, that obviously doesn't hurt. It's a good thing. The city's budget is growing. And it's growing in the income side faster than it's growing in the expense side. So that's really good news for us. A couple of things I think Christy and I have talked about and we just need to be aware of. And I've talked to both of our chiefs about this, but it does look like West Fork will probably see a big growth spurt of homes. And obviously, if we see that, that's going to affect our fire department, it's going to affect our police department in order to continue to provide the same level of service. So one of the issues there is those houses go up, but we don't necessarily start seeing those revenues immediately, right? Mm-hmm. So some of that stuff takes a year before it catches up to us. And so I just want to bring that out so that if we're here next year for budgets and both of our chiefs are saying, oh, I need another guy or I need another vehicle, I just want it to be on the council's mind as to why that's happening and give you a little heads up that we may have to scrimp some pennies to get what we need in those departments. But
There must make them good.
yeah, you're good. Thank you. Thank you for writing those letters.
Let's see here. We'll
Okay.
talk more about this.
So as we move into new business, before we get started in that, actually, I guess we can go ahead to item 1, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Get that out of the way. All right, so item 1 of new business is to approve projects for the American Rescue Plan project. So as we've talked a little bit about already in the meeting, we had project over, we had funds left from our original sewer project. We have used those funds to tackle some large sewer projects, trying to reduce our I&I. Now we find out that we're going to get some, well, we have gotten it now, but we're going to get some American Rescue Fund money that has to be used in that realm, right? So it's wastewater, water, and erosion control. So we're staying in the, no one can say that Isaac is anything but focused. The guy has fought sewer issues for the last, how long you been here, Isaac?
Since day one, seems like.
So we're taking that American Rescue Plan funds, and we're looking to continue to fight that I&I, to continue to fight our battle with our sewer system. Part of it, yes, part of it is to purchase some new water meters. We've been talking about that for a long time. Isaac has been buying cellular meters every year. He buys, a few, 20, 40, 50 a year. But we talked about this when we knew we were going to get this money. Hey, let's do a big buy. We have roughly 1,455 water customers, so 1,455 water meters are out there across the city. So we're looking at knocking out a third of those. We know that we're getting some water loss in some of our old meters. We have meters in the city that's got over 1 million gallons ran through them. They were never designed to handle 1 million gallons of water. So every time we add those digital meters, Isaac has been strategic with it. We've put them on dead end streets, so we don't have to go down, turn around. So we're saving time. When Isaac first took this job, it was a 3 to 5 day process to read meters in the city of West Fork. How many days y'all spend reading meters now, Isaac?
Usually it's one.
Wow.
So we're talking about every city employee used to spend an entire week trying to get our meters read. We have since cut that down. Isaac's got it down to about a day and a half to go do the rereads. But every time we can add these digital meters, that takes man hours out of that. And everybody knows what reading a meter is, right? They take off, they walk down the street, and they're pulling the caps, looking at it. I think I've mentioned that we have several citizens in the city that they're concerned about whether we're getting their meters read, so they put pebbles on their meter boxes. And I know some of Isaac's guys have said they put those pebbles right back when they're done. But that's, if we can get rid of those days, that's days those guys can spend doing maintenance to our system that has been that we haven't had in past years. So that's why that's so important to get those extra meters, and obviously Isaac's working diligently to make the department more efficient. But and just so everybody knows, we do have protocols in place that if somebody's meter is extremely high, it automatically gets a reread whether they before they ever even get their bill. So I know that comes up every now and then. Hadn't been an issue in a while, but
Oh, now, come on, I know that they go months without reading them.
yeah, you used to do the job, right?
What I was gonna say a minute ago is what's really funny is you're talking about the labor. When you do have wet weather and you have to read those meters,
Yeah.
sometimes you gotta pump them out.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
almost
it's just
always
top
gotta,
of the lid.
and then when it snows, it's amazing how that meter was right here last month, but it's 10 feet over and you can't find it.
Yeah,
So there is a lot of labor involved,
absolutely there is.
especially with weather. So yes, to get those digital meters and the fact that they read them every month.
You could have moved the pebbles.
That's right. So that's part of Isaac. You guys can see the budget that he's laid out. He and Christy have laid out to use with our first round of it. So the first round we received $274,000. We're looking at using $175,000 for water meters, and then he has the rest of that budget is sewer line repairs. So basically spending all of that $274,000 minus 25,000 of it is what he doesn't have allocated, which he's gonna run into in cost overruns because every other city in America is trying to do the same thing right now, and so obviously prices are gonna go up as he's trying to order this, but do we have any questions about Isaac's use of the rescue plan funds?
Bob?
I would like, is this repairs to the new lines, Isaac, or these old lines?
These are old lines.
Oh, okay, just wondering, I
And
mean,
if you notice, there's even a line extension.
right,
That last line item is actually extending a line
right,
to pick up potentially 10 new
right,
sewer clients.
I think it's a great use of the money.
yeah, looks like it is.
Can I add a few things that I think we need noted in the minutes,
Yeah.
if that's okay? So, we're trying to be very careful with this money, because there's a lot of procedure of how to spend it, how we have to report it, so forth. So I want to somewhat correct the mayor. There are different ways that this money could be spent. So there's basically 4 categories that this money can be spent on. So that's premium pay, I'm gonna draw a blank, Tom. Premium pay, lost revenue, water and sewer, and broadband. Did I cover, is that right? Did I get 4 of them?
PPE could be thrown in there too.
And what?
PPE and that kind of thing.
Right, basically anything
Cost
that's,
experienced in
right.
future.
COVID type related, if we wanted to do a vaccine clinic or something like that. So there are other ways it can be used. The drawback of using it in any other way is the reporting and the process that you have to go through to prove that you're using that money for a COVID reason. So it has to be something that was COVID related. There's a lot to it if we use it in another way. Using it for water and sewer is very clear. It's a very broad way to spend it. Anything that qualifies for basically the state and federal loans automatically qualifies for the American Rescue Plan. So it's very easy for us to go look at those books, the guidelines that they have for those, which is actually what we've got copied in the packet here. You can see that I wrote on there the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. If it qualifies for that, it qualifies for the American Rescue Plan. And what we're doing is going to keep us from having to do a lot of procurement. We're not going to have to do a lot of contracts because basically we're buying materials and then we're doing labor in-house. So not only are we getting a benefit of new water meters, it's also going to hopefully reduce our water loss because we're going to be capturing a lot more. We're going to get some of those really old meters out that aren't capturing everything. So we're going to have the benefit of getting our water loss down, replacing old sewer lines. It's also going to be a much more straightforward reporting process so that we're staying where we need to with the federal government. We want to make sure that we keep that in mind. So
I think this addresses one of our biggest needs at the moment anyway.
Mm-hmm.
oh, I agree, and especially with how we're allowed to use this money, I think it's absolutely our only option in my mind.
I'm far more narrow-minded about it. Christie,
No.
she is correct. She is. You guys heard we can use it in all these other places. Other towns, the county is potentially. They have a committee that they have fashioned. Nick touched on it a little bit. There's people from, they're wanting it in art studios, to use it in art studios in Fayetteville. The potential uses of this money are crazy. Some of it is giving pay raises to employees. That can last for about 2 years, and then, right? And there's obviously specifics for doing that, but there's some crazy stuff being used that this money's potentially being used for. With what we're trying to do, as far as I'm concerned, it's wastewater and sewer money, but the reporting is much easier. There is going to be some federal audits done on this. When you're talking this kind of money. So, yes, Christie lets you guys know it can be used for some other projects. But
No.
in the city of West Fork, I would like to keep it a little narrower.
Christy, can any of this money be used to pay the water
No.
Notes that are coming up. Okay.
It cannot. I know Nick is checking into some money that they have said that can possibly be used for expenses that we have spent on our current project since March.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But this money cannot be, and I may be wrong on that. This actually may be able to be spent on stuff that we have purchased since March 13th also. I'd have to check on that to make sure. But we're not in a position necessarily because of having that money that we need to go back and reimburse ourselves for that stuff at this point. So, but there is some money out there that Nick's trying to get us that might help reimburse us for what we have already spent.
That'd be great.
But just since March, anything beyond, before March cannot be reimbursed.
What side of town are we putting these water meters on? Just, we're gonna be asked if anybody starts talking about it.
So, yeah, the addresses are on there, so you've got, the meters?
The meters.
I'm sorry.
meters, yeah, the
Well,
meters.
we're gonna focus right here in the center of town, cause this seems to be where our highest meters are with the most gallons run through them.
It's where your oldest meters are
Yeah,
too.
the oldest
Are
ones.
right
Yeah,
here,
that's what I thought.
downtown.
Okay, well, we can just tell them that then if they ask.
Tom, I know you're keeping up with all the reporting and what they're saying. Are you comfortable with these projects and our explanation of what we're doing with the money, how we're spending the money? Okay.
I thought Nick was gonna take it for biosolid removal, because that's one of the specific requirements, but every one of these, you're right, Christie, you're so right, these are so, that's the low-hanging fruit, that's the easy way to use it, that's how they want us to use it. You know, why sewer's related to COVID, I don't know, but it worked out that way, and it's really good for us. I mean, it's great. It's gonna be very, very, very easy to get this past any scrutiny at all.
And next year about this time, we're gonna be dealing with this again because we'll get another 275,000.
Wow.
Awesome.
Hallelujah.
Good for us.
That's all I can say.
If you're good.
If we're good.
We can be our happy
Yeah.
days.
Which is why we're trying to be really good.
That's awesome. Thanks, Christie.
All right, so do we have a motion concerning item number 1, new business?
We do. I make a motion that we approve it.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes. Yes.
Those opposed, no. Okay, that motion carries. For items 2 and 3 of new business, I would like to start with a motion to suspend the rules and read those by title only. It's 2 ordinances that we're looking at.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to suspend the rules.
That's a roll call.
That's a roll call. So Misty Cobb,
Yes.
Jeff Upton,
Yes.
Jan Throgmorton,
Yes.
Marty Lindaberry,
Yes.
Dina McKnight,
Yes.
Don Rollins.
Yes.
Okay. Oh,
Jimmy.
and we have Jimmy.
Yes.
Yes. I told Christy before, if I didn't have the names listed across here, I'd forget to call them. I'd probably forget your name. All right, so we have a motion, we've passed that to suspend the rules. So our first item number 2, ordinance number 501, amend the purchasing limits, and I'll let Tom detail this and read the ordinance by title only.
So the state law requires us to set the purchasing procedure for the administration. In other words, the city council directs the administration on how to spend the money, how much of it and where. But we have to determine what those rules are, how you do it. And when the state changes the limits, which they just did from, when I started it was 5, now it's at 35. We have to change the limits too, so that we can be able to match that procedure. So that's all this is. It's kind of housekeeping. It doesn't mean the mayor can run off and buy 1/4 of a Ferrari, but because he can't spend the money if it's not budgeted anyway. But it does allow the administration, Christie and the mayor, and the department heads to make their expenditures without having to come to the city council when it's already budgeted. So that's all that is. And so, Mayor, I'll read the title. It's an ordinance amending Chapter 3.04, purchases of Title 3, fiscal affairs of the West Fork Municipal Code, declaring an emergency. And before you take a motion to pass, that emergency clause is on there. I don't know that you need it. If Christie doesn't need it by next month, I don't think that we need to have a separate vote on that. Whereas your next one, you're gonna want a separate vote.
Mhm.
So Mayor, you would just take a motion to pass.
Okay, do we have a motion?
Second.
We have a motion and second to pass ordinance 501 to amend the purchasing limits. Misty Cottle,
Yes.
Jeff Upton,
Yes.
Jan Throgmorton,
Yes.
Marty Lindaberry,
Yes.
Dina McKnight,
Yes.
Don Rollins,
Yes.
and Jimmy Conda.
Yes.
Okay, that motion passes. Next is ordinance 502 to waive bids for 500 digital water meters. I'll let Attorney Kickleck explain that and read that by title.
Talking to Christie, it had been, I don't know how many years since we had waived bidding, and now we've done it twice in 2 months. It is something, just want, so y'all know, that a lot of cities do all the time, several times a meeting, every meeting, and we do not, we're just, that's not our style. But this one, when you're one of these, it really makes sense, and Isaac doesn't have to get up and talk about it, because I'll say it, you don't want to buy 2 kinds of digital meters and have 2 kinds of devices and 2 kinds of telemetry and 2 antennas and everything like that. So what you're doing is you're wanting to buy the same kinds. That's all this is to allow Isaac to I'm sure he'll get the best price, but to buy the same kind of meter without going through a bid process. And so I'll read the title, Mayor. It's ordinance to waive competitive bidding as it relates to the purchase of digital water meters for the waterworks system in the city of West Fork, Arkansas. And there is an emergency clause on this one, and do you want that? Isaac, I imagine you do.
Yes.
Yeah, they're 3.5, 4 months out, so we'd like to order them for
So-
free so we can get them on hand.
You'll take a motion to pass, Mayor, a roll call, and then you take a motion to approve the emergency clause in a separate roll call.
Okay. So do we have a
Make a
motion?
motion that we approve the emergency clause.
A second.
Okay, so we have a motion and second for both. We'll first take a roll call on the ordinance 502. Misty Cottle,
Yes.
Jeff Upton,
Yes.
Jan Throgmorton,
Yes.
Marty Lindaberry,
Yes.
Dina McKnight,
Yes.
Don Rollins,
Yes.
and Jimmy Conda.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. And now we'll take a vote to approve the emergency clause.
Yes.
Need a motion?
No, we just got it,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Yep, okay. Misty Cottle,
Yes.
Jeff Upton,
Yes.
Jan Throgmorton,
Yes.
Marty Lindaberry,
Yes.
Dina McKnight,
Yes.
Don Rollins,
Yes.
and Jimmy Conda.
Yes.
Okay, so the ordinance and the emergency clause both pass. Do we have any other business? Jimmy, just to let you know, the other business section of the agenda is in case a council member has something that they would like to bring up and discuss openly at one of our forums. So do we have any other business that anyone would like to discuss tonight? No? Okay. So let's move into mayor's comments. Just like to reiterate what many have already said, Westfest was fantastic this year. I was only able to attend for a short period of time, but I did park in the library parking lot and snuck in and saw the library mural before we headed out of town. And we had one of the developers that is looking at West Fork actually was down here looking at some property and got stuck in the parade traffic. And so when Christie saw him, he was sampling some salsa. But I've talked to him since, and he really enjoyed Westfest and thought that we were a group of good people, down to earth people. So he seemed to enjoy himself. But I guess that goes to show you never know who's walking around. On that same ticket, like I said, if you guys know anybody that's looking to sell property, let myself, Christy, or Isaac know, because weekly we're being asked who they can talk to. So do let us know if you know anyone on that. Also, we have our lot split up it's on the Planning Commission agenda for Thursday to split that lot at the admin building. We did get a market analysis. We just got it today of what commercial property is selling for in the city. And we will get that out to everyone, just so you guys can see what we're looking at, but, we don't have a lot of commercial property that's sold in West Fork recently, as far as lots. We have a 1.83 acre parcel that sold for $110,000, which is roughly $60,000 an acre. We have a 0.91 acre parcel that sold for $49,900, which is $54,000 an acre. And we have a 0.45 acre lot that sold for $15,000, which is about $33,500 per acre. So we need to, in the near future, like I said, we'll get this out to you. This literally, I think Christy sent it to me at about 4 o'clock because I was printing it right before I left today. But we need to decide what we want to ask for our parcel over at the city admin. I know the seller of the property there at the library is wanting to know, what's going on. Is the city serious, or does he need to move forward? I know the developer that's developing south of city admin is wanting to know what's going on. Are we serious about selling? So this market analysis will give us some kind of idea of what to price that for. But that is something we need to get hammered out, so that we can go to both of those individuals and let them know how we're proceeding forward. I've already mentioned the Planning Commission conditional use permit. I think we've mentioned that the Planning Commission is having a public hearing to discuss the zoning ordinance. We're going to try to make some changes. Nick and Isaac are putting together some road specs, some drainage specs. We're trying to get a piece in our zoning ordinance that it basically says if a developer wants to come in and they have a set of prints, that they will pay for us to have Nick's company review those prints. So their engineer has drawn up a set of prints, but it's apparently common practice for the city to go ahead and have our engineer give it a once over as well. But part of the idea is to have to make sure that the developer is paying, reimbursing for those costs to the city. So those are some of the things we're looking at in that zoning ordinance and that we're trying to get put together. Like I said, there's a subdivision that's coming in. Their initial plat showed 29 lots. We've talked to them about some changes that we know the Planning Commission is leaning towards, and asked them to compromise with us, to hold off, let us get our changes made, and then come back to us, and they were willing to do so. I think that they're going to lose a couple lots in the subdivision. We're basically saying that their lots don't meet our specifications, and so they're going back to the drawing board to probably take out a couple lots. But I think that's all I had about planning. Yep. So I have, we put in the budget last year money to hire a code enforcement officer, and we haven't done anything with that yet. It's been one of those things, I think I've talked to just about every person that works in the city about whether or not they would like that position as a stipend. I found somebody that would take me up on my offer. So I don't think the city of West Fork, we need code enforcement. We certainly do. There's some stuff that needs to be cleaned up in the city of West Fork. Do we need somebody full-time? No, we don't. So what we're looking at is someone 1 to 2 days a month to start. We have a minimum or a minimal amount of money set aside in the budget for that. So what we have done is ask Officer Gillum to fulfill that role. She's still listed as a volunteer police officer. She won't be doing this through the police department. This will be through the administration department. She'll be paid out of administration, not through police department. We have one of our vehicles that we're gonna put her in. We're gonna get some decals, some magnetic decals, and some shirts made for her that say code enforcement. Or I guess we're getting her some shirts, City of West Fork shirts, code enforcement decals on the vehicle. She is planning to start doing code enforcement probably on the first Saturday of each month, just because our goal is to never have any of these code enforcement issues make it to the police department. So the code enforcement officer will go out and make contact, say you're out of compliance with X, Y, or Z. They have some paperwork to give the citizen saying this is what we've talked about, this is when I'll be back to follow up. If we have a citizen who's just defiant and refuses to come into compliance, at that time Kathy would turn that over to the police department, who would go through our customary order of addressing that. So I told Kathy I hope that she, you know, if she has to work with somebody multiple times, that's fine. I hope that we never have any of these instances make it to the police department. I just want some of these houses, we need to get some stuff cleaned up, some yards mowed, some furniture moved off of porches, some cars taken out of the yards, things of that nature. So that's where we're headed with that, and she will start the 1st of October. So that's one of those areas, and Attorney Kicklack could probably tell us that this is one of those areas where we could upset a lot of people real quick. I assure you that is not my intent, but I do think we need to address a couple issues in town. Are there any questions regarding that?
No, but I'm gonna have you backtrack, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I think we voted on the emergency clause, but I can't sleep tonight if I don't go through this. So we voted on the emergency clause, so Isaac could go ahead and order the digital meters.
Mm-hmm.
And that was read by Tom, and motioned by Jan, seconded by Don. Then we didn't do the ordinance.
We did the ordinance first, I thought.
We did do the ordinance
Yes, ma'am.
first?
Yes, ma'am. I think the same.
It was the
motions,
same.
too.
Was it the same motion whenever we did 501?
I tell you what, do we have a motion and second?
That's why I asked about the motion.
I thought we had it over here, but,
We just did for the ordinance, not the
okay, we
emergency.
have a motion, second.
She did all three, actually.
To ordinance 50.
Jan did.
Yes,
Yeah, she rolled it all in one.
501,
Mhm.
right?
Right,
I have Jan and Dawn,
yeah.
Yeah,
and then read by title only. No, I'm sorry. Jan and Dawn did the first one, approve the projects for the American Rescue. And then I have 501, was Jan and Jeff with a roll call vote. And then ordinance 502, for the emergency clause, I had Jan and Dawn.
okay. So
What
let's
about the ordinance?
get a
It
motion.
was Jan and Dawn.
Same, I made the.
Same?
Mhm.
Okay,
I made the motion and Don said,
okay.
And I know we did both roll calls for the motion and the
yes.
motion.
And all
Okay.
that.
Alright.
Because I was watching.
All right, are we
to see what
good?
you do.
I'm good.
Okay,
Thank you.
we can re-vote if you would like for us to.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
Okay,
straightening it out.
I did not have a question on the code enforcement, but I did have a couple of questions I just wanted to throw out there. On the price of the lot.
Yeah.
Just curious, is it like because it's a premium lot, do we not ask more? Or is it a premium lot compared to the other two that sold? Or do we take an average, or, you know, what are we looking at?
I think we're looking at, we can do whatever we want.
I mean, because to me, that's premium.
Mm-hmm.
That's highway frontage.
Okay,
Are
those other
comparables?
So, and I realize there's not a lot of things to compare it to, but I would think, I don't know what else sold that was the highest one.
mm-hmm.
but I would think that would probably be comparable to the highest one.
So what we're looking at is 36 Main Street, which is where the Shire Post is. That was the 1.83 acre lot that sold for 60,000 an acre.
Well, my thought is that it would be comparable to that.
Okay.
And how big is our tract?
We don't know yet. We
Okay.
do we know?
0.69 acres.
0.69.
So it's not a full acre.
And I just wanted to throw that out. Then the
Yeah.
other question I had was for Nick and Isaac. On street sizes, recommendations and stuff, are you looking at like a minimum like the state requires, so that if we do eventually need repairs on those streets, that they would meet the minimum that the state needs to be able to to help us pay for those repairs?
So, I think the specs that we're looking at are mainly driven towards subdivision, what we wanna see go into subdivisions. We can certainly spec out any kind of street maintenance to be done to meet those same.
I mean, because that's not a big, the state requirements aren't,
No.
I mean, there's not like you gotta put a boulevard through there.
So what we currently have, Don, is on local streets, they have to be 18 feet wide, which is our smallest street requirement. And if I'm not mistaken, that's what the state requires for that.
I think they require 22 feet.
That's a 22
That's what I
feet,
thought.
okay.
They
22.
require 22 feet,
Yeah,
from ditch to ditch.
right.
But would they be, could we get that turn back money to use on a subdivision street?
So yes, if we want
Okay.
state aid,
Okay,
we're building, like Hidden Creek right now is like 22 feet
okay.
right now between the curves. It may even be more than that, maybe 24 feet. So yeah, we are now meeting those requirements. So the one you're referring to is James Place got kicked back because there's parts of it that were 16
Right.
feet wide.
Right, but if we haven't built to that standard to start out with, then
Yes.
down the road, if we need repairs and they have to connect to a state highway? Or do they not?
For the state aid,
Yeah,
no.
okay, but still, they need to meet the state requirements. But, so that's all I was saying, is that would be a good idea, if we can, to do it that way, so that eventually, if we need state aid to repair those or replace, whatever, repave, that we would be able to use the state aid to take care of them.
So I was gonna tell you too, Don, the two other lots on here were Lot 1A and Lot 2A on Phillip Street, which is, they're by Harps, those two lots that sold. They're the two that are closer to the 49 on-ramp. Those are the two that sold, one for 33.5 an acre and one for 54.8 an acre would be their cost. Go ahead, Tom.
Mayor, I'm sorry, if one were to observe city council meetings around the state for 20 or 25 years, one of the things that pops up is don't ever try to ban pit bulls, but the other one is one of the hardest things cities have doing is buying and selling property. It's very, very difficult, and I think the reason is because, one of the reasons is because everyone knows somebody who's really good at it. And you hear them at the cafe, you hear them at the co-op, you hear them at the feed store, how they always make more money and they always sell, for more and buy for less. And so everybody wants, you don't ever want to be the person that's caught, selling for not enough or buying for too much. And then when you try to do it by committee, you find out that everybody sort of has a different way. And the problem with property sale is you have to move with dispatch sometimes. You really have to, when the opportunity comes, sometimes that's what makes a difference. Like I have to do it now, I can get this much more, but if I go back and then we hash it out, then of course the seller is often in the room, or the buyer is often in the room, and they're listening to everybody, and so they know how to manipulate usually it's the poor mayor at the end. And what I found is that if y'all say, if you trust your chief executive and say, chief executive, go and buy that one and sell that one, do your best, don't come back here and embarrass us, go do a good job. And then you let that team, the mayor and his team or her team, figure that out, and then they come back, and then you know that, you know, sometimes because you're a city, you don't get the best deal, or sometimes you do. But at least you know that you could trust that person. Maybe you could have gotten a few more dollars here or a few less there, but at least you get it done, as opposed to sometimes I've watched cities have to draw that out. I've watched cities argue for 3 hours over John Deere versus, you know, Kubota. I literally have. And then they'll borrow $33 million in a bond in 5 minutes. So, so, you know, that's one of those things. And so y'all can think about what method do we want to use. The mayor can bring offers to you and you know, make offers, or y'all can say, hey, mayor, go and do that, and trust that the mayor knows you better not mess it up, or y'all are make fun of him for the next couple of years at the cafe and the food store.
Didn't we already give you permission to explore all that?
Which is what I've
Yeah,
done,
we
yes,
did.
and that's why I'm coming to you with
What
market
you come up with,
analysis.
yeah.
At this point, it's just so that you guys have some idea of what it's
Right.
selling for.
We also need to keep in mind, the reason why we started discussing this was because we want that land by the library.
We do.
So there's a cost for that. So I can't remember, that it was 40 something.
Well,
I
at
can't
one
remember
point-
exactly, so.
We talked about trading it,
Right.
so we do need that.
And that there are people waiting, not making plans on the property. You know, sometimes I think we forget that in the process too.
Yeah,
So
we don't
it'd
need to
be-
drag it out.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
because then it's like, oh, and now go ahead and build on it. We decided no. Well, that's been 4 or 5 months now of just kind of waiting. So any decision would be okay, but to wait and make it.
Right.
So, there's a lot to think about. I'm not asking you guys to, I want your counsel on it. Because part of the way I look at this is, I know 100% sure that if the city owns that property, it is never gonna be developed, and it's never going to have revenue created on it. Okay, so the city is not gonna put a business on there that's going to create sales tax.
Chad's gonna have to keep mowing it.
Chad's gonna have to keep mowing. I know with how we're looking at dividing this, the city is keeping enough land that we feel like we can expand as much as needed. And I also, in my opinion, the potential growth through sales tax is far exceeding what the potential growth of dickering over, you know, a couple thousand here, a couple thousand there, or even waiting a few years. I think the sales tax potential on that property is much more than the appreciation on that property. So that's some of where I come from with it is, and I'm not saying that the developer is going to build something on it tomorrow, but I do know that he has talked about like a strip mall, and if there was a strip mall with 4 or 5 little businesses in it, each of them producing $12,000 a year in sales tax, that's a lot of money coming into the city.
And I'm sure he'd like to get started on making some kind of plans based on whatever he's got, instead of us dragging our feet and waiting
Sure.
to see who's doing what and where.
So I definitely think, Dawn, we need.
Several months already that we've talked about that property.
Well, because it kind of snuck out. I thought we were a few
So what
months
do you
down
want
the
now?
road.
Yeah, so that's my question is, what's the next step?
So I think the next step is, I want to make sure that the city gets a market value for the property, which is why we've went out and got a market analysis of it. But I also want, Tom has a great idea, let the mayor go stick his neck out there and everybody be mad at him. But
Right.
I would like some counsel from the council. What are you
I'm
guys?
good with that.
And y'all have to pass an ordinance to buy or sell anyway, or a resolution,
Yes.
I forget which, but you're gonna get the final say, no matter what. I mean, but you can have the mayor go out, enter into a contract contingent upon the vote, you know.
I mean, you're a numbers guy anyway, so I mean, that's
Can
what
we
you
not,
do.
yeah, can we
I
not make
trust
that
the-
decision tonight and let him go and do that, guys? I think we should.
Is that a
Let the
motion?
mayor go and
Is that a
get all
motion?
this going, and
She made a
then
motion.
stick his neck
Sounds
out
like
ours.
But we've
Was
already
that a
done
motion,
right?
Jan?
We
Well,
have.
we
Yeah.
did, we did for the other part,
You've
right?
been duly noted with what you said on.
Are you making a motion?
I am.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion second. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those no. Man, I really appreciate you guys.
Go be a land baron.
So, do we have to wait for another 30 days? Do they have to wait, or can you, if this goes through and you make a thing, can you not just call a special meeting so we can get this done?
We can do that if we needed to, but we'll try to make it till next meeting. I'll reach out to both of them and say, hey, this is, I'll reach out to
That's a
the
good
one on Centennial and say, are you willing to give this amount for it? And then we'll go from there. Is that good?
As long as we come out to the good on both properties and make a few bucks,
Okay.
Once we get the library property.
yeah, we're good.
Okay. I don't have anything else except for the request for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion. I'll second.
Thanks, Marnie. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. That motion carries. Thank you.